Hey, y'all. Happy Sunday to everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. This is number 6 on my live Q&As, and we're going to be talking about the two-sided machining part 1 that I did. I know it was a long video, and I thank everybody for hanging in there. As I was editing it and doing the closed captions, I thought, man, I could get rid of about a third of this. I've said it too many times. But thanks for sticking in with it. First off, let's go ahead and go down the list over here and see who's in with us. Mr. Skip Evans, howdy Skip. Richard Poland. See Dave Kraus. Dave Gatton, CNC designer to the stars. Steve with Horror Neil Media. David Crook. Chad M. Doing great today, Chad. Doing great. Got everything figured out. Had some problems with my network. Got my router switched out, and now hopefully everything is back up to snuff. So yeah, the holy cow, Kevin L's checking in from South Africa. Wow, I tell you what, it is. I live in Oregon here in the States, and it is 12 noon. 12 noon Sunday. Don't know what it is in your neck of the woods, but South Africa, holy cow. Man. So, first off, were there any questions at all about the CAD CAM portion of double-sided machining? I know I kind of harped on a few things, but there's once you have done it a couple of times or you've seen it done a couple of times, it's actually very simple. Holy cow, super chat from Mr. Dave Gatton. Thank you very much, Dave. Tell you what, y'all stick your little cursor over the Dave's name over there in the live chat. You see those 3 little dots. Click on those 3 little dots, then right-click, go to channel, open it in a new tab, and give him a subscribe. If you want to learn about CNC, he's my Obi-Wan. I tell you what, he has forgotten more about CNC than I have ever learned. He not only uses them, designs them, builds them. The guy, dynamite. You know, I owe 100% of everything that I've ever done to him. I'd never been in a same building with a CNC before I met up with Dave. So thank you very much, Dave. I really do appreciate that super chat. That was very cool. Jeff Peters checking in. Chris Graves checking in. David Pinson. Deester Miner? Okay. I'm not sure what that is. Sounds German, but I'm not sure. So, okay. Yeah, the next video, next week, I'm going to actually take my piece of stock out onto the CNC, and we're going to cut the project that I did in the CAD CAM software, so you can get a look at how it's done. And there's a few things to remember, but in fact, I'll just go ahead and I'll show off the piece of material. I was talked about it a little bit in the video earlier, and here's the piece that I'm going to be using. This is it's called Kimani Wood, and we got it over in Hawaii. It's an endangered species, actually, and it is really something. But I got this when we're talking about a huge limb, got blown out of a tree in a storm we had over there. And I was lucky enough to grab a few chunks of it, and I've been carrying it around for 20 years. I've got a few more pieces back here. But the grain on this stuff, I mean, it's crazy. The entire tree is just curly as heck. And the chatoyance in this wood, I mean, the same week I cut that piece about 20 years ago, I got this piece here and just shot some Helmsman polyurethane on it, and you can just see the flame coming off of that piece of wood, man. It's crazy. It's gorgeous stuff. But that's the natural color of the wood. It just glows with that urethane on it. So I'm going to use that to cut this. But Skip Evans, super chat from Skip Evans. Holy cow, guys. Thank you very much. Get over and check out Skip Evans's channel too. Skip, you need to put some more videos up, buddy. It's time. You know, it's way past time. I've seen some of the stuff you're doing. You need to get some more videos up there. But thank you very much for the super chats, guys. Thank you very much. So Dave Gatton wants to know, am I on StreamYard now or OBS? I'm on OBS. I'm still getting used to StreamYard. I think I'm going to try it next week. We'll see. I'm not sure. After I got the router situation solved, me and Steve and Eloy, and we jumped into StreamYard chat over the course of a couple of days just to check, make sure everything is set and ready. And I had no problems. It had no dropouts. Everything was okay. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But maybe next week. I think I'll give it a shot next week. So, see, did anybody have any questions at all on the video this morning? I mean, in case you're wondering, the jars that I'm looking at using, they're just these standard one pipe mason jars. And these happen to be, they say it's a special edition, you know, tinted blue to look like they're really old or something like that. They're just one pipe mason jars I'm going to use. It's got the separate ring and the separate little lid. So, let's see. Joni Jensen is wondering, can you use a compression bit for the dowel holes? I want to clear that up too. The main reason for using an upcut bit on those dowel holes is simply because of the bit that I'm using. It's a 1/4 inch bit and drilling a 1/4 inch hole. And you've got to get those chips evacuated up out of there, because otherwise friction will keep them just in there, and that bit forcing down just shoves them down further and compacts them. And I set my spoil board on fire. So, I mean, I'm sitting there cutting away I'm about 3 holes into a series of 4 or 5. And all of a sudden the bit lifted up out of a hole, and I kid you not, burning embers, you know, chunks of glowing coals fell off of that bit as it came up out of that hole. And so I shut everything down, moved it out of the way, and then about that time I started seeing smoke coming up. So I had a bottle of Pepsi. I dumped it on the project, unscrewed it, got it off the spoil board, and there was a big charred and growing area on the spoil board. It was just, you know, it wasn't flames, it was just burning embers on that MDF. Dumped the rest of my Pepsi on it to put it out, scrapped the project, scrapped everything. And I had no idea what was going on. I later found out it was because I was using a downcut bit. And a compression bit is about the same way, because on a compression bit, well, let's see, no, wait a minute. On a compression bit, the bottom half is upcut and the top half is downcut, so you get that nice clean edge. It might work, but your best bet would probably to be an upcut. So, and Dave Gatton's asking, do I have a fire extinguisher? I have 3 of them, but when something like that happens, the last thing I thought about was fire extinguisher, and I don't know why. I just saw that smoke and went, oh crap, and the Pepsi was right there, and I just dumped it, you know. So I didn't even think about grabbing the fire extinguisher, which in hindsight's kind of stupid, but what can you say? So just me personally, upcut bits are cheaper than downcuts or compression bits. I have both of them. I don't have a compression bit. So I just, remember to put an upcut bit and use that. You know, that's why I make such a big note of it in the toolpath. So, um, let's see. Jeff Restore 66 wants to know, will I epoxy the lids in? Yes, that's my plan, is to epoxy them. You know, the guy that I got the idea from, he said he was either going to epoxy them or hot glue them. I'm not a big fan of hot glue. I can see the benefit if you ever needed to get it out of there for some reason. Hot glue would be easier. But I figure if I'm going to tear it up, getting a ring out of there for some reason, I need to replace it. I'll just make another one. So, yeah, what can you say? Let's see. Chad M says, you really stressed in your videos not to use downcut bits with drilling holes. Yeah, and like I say, that's just a hole that's the same size as your bit. If it's about a 16th of an inch larger, if the hole's about a 16th of an inch larger than your bit, you're good to go. I mean, there just has to be a way for the chips to get out of there, you know. So if not, like I said, that the tip of that bit just keeps shoving those chips down there with no place to go, friction. Because you got to figure, what's your router or spindle spinning at? Like, anywhere from 16 to 20,000 RPM, it's going to build up some friction. And, what can you say? But I only did it once. Jeff wants to know, is there some reason I did not cut the locator holes all the way through? There was just no need. And I had another question in the comments, and I believe it was from Skip Evans, who said that he lines up his dowel holes on the center line of the project. Basically, in every tutorial I watched, and everybody that I talked to about the process before I did it the first time, they all agree to, by spreading those holes out and putting them in kind of odd locations like I did, when you go to flip your material, it will only go on one way. And that's what's needed. Because if there is a way that I could accidentally flip it over top for bottom as I'm flipping it side for side, I would do it, which would throw everything off. So I just put them in odd locations. That way it'll only go on one way. And it's the same with drilling the holes all the way through. If there's a way I could get them mixed up, I will. So by having them only go about a ½ inch into the material, not only is it a shorter tool path, but I can only put that thing, flip it over and put it on one way. And that kind of Murphy proofs it for me. So, Chad wants to know, when you flip the board over, do you reset all the zeros or can you just get to cutting? I'll go further in depth into that next week when we go outside and actually cut it. But spoiler alert is no. The only zero you will ever change will be your Z0. You leave XY alone, and that's the purpose of those dowel holes. But I'll get into that further next week. So let's see. Steve says, good thing you weren't drinking rum. Yeah, seriously, or Everclear. I don't drink at all. So I'm still the same idiot. I just have fewer dents in my car. So Dave Gatton, I think you should do a video on drilling 1/4-inch holes with a down spiral bit and see how long it takes to start a fire. Should get a lot of views. It probably would. And but I'm just not into driving my homeowner's insurance up, So, oh man. So, let's see. Oh, Pepsi will work about all it's good for. Well, you Coke folks are just really loyal to your brands. But, I'm going to air a little dirty laundry here. My first wife, it was whenever I she drank Diet Pepsi. And so whenever I went to get something out of the fridge, that's what was in there. So I just got used to it. And now anything else, if it's not diet, it just tastes like syrup to me. It's too sugary. I can't hang with it. So, yeah, I think you're right, Steve. I think Dave's got it going on here. He's trying to get me to burn down the CNC so he can sell me another one. So, we'll see. Okay, Jeff, Restorer66. While we're talking about holes, what drilling process is right for doing a cribbage board hole layout? I don't know that there is a right or wrong. Uh, Jeff, if you've got the layout set up, I've never made a cribbage board. I do need to make one. I have one friend who is asking for one. So maybe that'll be down the road a little bit. Um, Once you've got the layout figured out, I'm not sure what size the holes actually are. But if you have a bit that's that size or smaller, I would personally just use a drilling tool path and peck drill them in. You know, I kind of like the idea. If the bit is the same size as the hole, peck drilling works real well. The main reason I didn't use it in the video I put out today, the main reason I went for a pocket was because I wanted to slow down that feed rate without going in and making a bunch of changes. And ramping in the plunge moves on a pocket effectively slows down the feed rate without doing any editing in the tool database. But if the bit is the same size as the hole you want to drill, peck drilling would work. Just make sure it's upcut bit. But if you had a bit that's smaller than the size hole you want to drill, a pocket with a pocket with ramping in the plunge move, and just take it easy. Make sure your bit can handle the depth of cut and what have you. But let's see. Let's see. Joni Jensen wants to know, is the chamfer a roundness on top? No, it's an angled cut. It just kind of breaks that edge. And so you don't have that sharp edge on top when you go to grab hold of it. I have a couple of round over bits made for CNC. I just haven't really used them. I haven't found the need for them yet. I need to go ahead and make a video on them. It's on the list. I've had a few people ask about using round over bits on the CNC. You just have to make sure you get a round over bit that is made for plunge cutting, because not all of them are. If it had or it has a bearing on the bottom, don't try it, because it doesn't have that cutter on the bottom, and you'll just crash it into the material and have a major problem. Let's see. Palmer Hudson wants to know, when cutting wood with grains in different directions, is the bit going to have a hard time at a good clean cut? And do you recommend high-speed steel or carbide tools for cutting only wood? High-speed steel is sharper. I've only used carbide tools. I've not used any high-speed steel bits at all on the CNC. I like carbide because I can resharpen them. I can touch some up real quick, like a V-bit or a round over bit. I can just touch up on that flat side and give it a clean surface to cut, and I can send them in for sharpening if I need to. So I figure buy once, cry once. I'll just go ahead and spend the money on a carbide bit, and I've had good results so far. As far as cutting wood with grains running in different directions, the way Dave taught me, once again, a plug for Dave Gatton, and this is just one of those things, proof that he's the Obi-Wan. He taught me to start conservative, and I take a little bit of ribbing about the feed rates that I have, that I show in my videos. But start conservative with a shallow depth of cut and a slower feed rate. And because I use Mach 3, I can bump up my feed rate as it's cutting. So I might start at 60 inches per minute, and that's what you might see on the video. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to stay at 60 inches a minute, because I'll let the bit plunge in and start cutting, and then I'll start bumping that feed rate up. And then if I hear a little bit of chatter, I'll just back it back down till that chatter stops and I let it go. So I may start at 60 inches per minute, but I may end up cutting at, 110, 120 or something like that. So I always start conservative and then just see how it's cutting, because every piece of material is different. And if you've got grain going in different directions, and I'm going to find out next week, well, not, I won't find out next week. I'll find out day after tomorrow when I actually cut this. This grain is curly as heck and it goes all over the place. And just as an aside, this was the weirdest tree or log or piece of wood that I ever messed with. The bark was like coconut shell. And just hit it and it shattered and fell off in chunks. It was just real strange. But, and as another aside, there's that wane that I was talking about. And it's about an inch deep on the back, so that's why I had to keep the design up or down this direction instead of up here. But, we're going to see how well it cuts with the grain going in different directions. Everything else that I've cut that was curly, I've had real good luck with. If you've got sharp tools and you're not trying to force that bit through the work, if you're taking it conservative, generally speaking, I haven't had a single problem. I always get a good finish. Of course, now, I have yet to have any project ever come off of the machine ready for finish. There's always some finish sanding involved. I mean, the closest I've come to it is using a real tiny, tiny step over of like 8% on a tapered ball nose bit. And then it's almost ready for finish. I mean, it just requires minimal sanding with like some 220 grit. But there's almost always going to be a little bit of sanding and cleanup involved. So, but yeah, just don't try to horse that bit through the material and let the cutting edges do the cutting, and you should be good. Okay, let's see. David Pinson comes along and says, trying to cut a profile with lettering added on top. When the bit raises and re-engage, loses position momentarily. I don't quite understand what you're saying. It loses position in X and Y. I would always, on something like that, always check the mechanical first. I mean, a lot of people want to dive straight into the software or the G-code or the tool paths or something like that. Always check the mechanical first. I mean, it may be a loose coupler. I don't know what kind of machine you have. It could be a loose coupler. It could be a loose belt. It could be something just slightly out of alignment. But always check the mechanical first. And, if that means, and I've done it a few times myself, we'll go back to square one and just cut a square and make sure it is square, Also, I do have a video on my channel. If you're looking, if you have couplers, like a stepper motor with a coupler, then a lead screw, I took a little bit of white out and put a little bit on the face of the coupler, then brought it out onto the threads of the lead screw. That way, if the coupler slips on that lead screw, I can tell by that witness mark that they're no longer in alignment. I can see just at a glance, that slipped. And I can go back, tighten everything up, and try to salvage the project from there. I also did the same thing on the other side of the coupler. So I've got a witness mark along the coupler and then down on the motor shaft. And I just used whiteout, but you can use like nail polish or whatever. They make a special lacquer for that. It's called Torque Seal. But if you've got whiteout, you can do it. So let's see. David White says, last pass with a climb cut. You know, a lot of people will tell you that a climb cut will give you a better result. You know, if you've got grain going in different directions, it doesn't matter because you're going to be going with and against the grain no matter what. But, you know, that's one of those, personal preference type of a thing. I generally run conventional, and I'll be honest, I haven't really noticed a difference when I have tried climb cuts. I'm still going to have to do a little bit of sanding. So David said, okay, you have a shop bot. I'm not sure if those are rack and pinion or what have you, but I would get a hold of shop bot tech support because they know your machine and you probably are not the first person to have that issue. They know your machine and they could tech support it and troubleshoot it for you. I would get a hold of them. Or they also have a support forum on their website. You can go sign up or log into the support forum and ask the question there because those are the people that know your machine. And undoubtedly somebody has answered this before or run into the problem before. So, see, Joni Jensen, this video was perfect to view today. I'm trying to do a two-sided box tomorrow. Thank you for these videos. Well, you're welcome, Joni, and thank you. Good luck, and you know, let's see some pictures posted up in some of the Facebook groups or something like that. Let's see, Jeff, Restorer 66. Anybody here use VCarve Pro to design box joints that will be cut vertically with the wood attached to the front of your CNC? Okay, my Shapeoko will cut past the front far enough to cut 1-inch thick wood. You know, for me, no, I've never done it that way. I was going to set up a jig to where I can make vertical end grain cuts like you're talking about, Jeff. But once I got my rotary axis mounted there, I didn't want to take it off. So that kind of went by the wayside. Now, having said that, my machine will come forward just slightly in front of the rotary axis, so I might still be able to do it. I don't know. I haven't checked into it. We'll see. Speaking of which, I know I need to do some rotary axis videos. I just put them on the list. You know, doing one video a week. There's only 52 weeks in a year. It gets, you know, you have to have a project to do the video, and I'm catching up. I am starting to catch up. I ended up doing the double-sided machining video a lot sooner than I thought I would. So I think after this, I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing photo VCarve after this, or if I'm going to be doing something else. I'm not really certain. It's going to depend on what Department of Operations and Planning in there says. So, put out a schedule. Ha! Me and schedules do not compute. They do not compute. I cannot keep a schedule to save my life. So, let's see. Jerry Varney, love your videos. Thank you, Jerry. Love the fact that you're checking them out. I just hope they're helpful. I really do. Let's see. Frankie CNC and Woodworking. I can't make any more videos. That's lame, Frankie. Make more videos. Make more videos. So, yeah, Jeff, I'd like to see how that design is done in VCarve too. I know there are ways of doing it. I just haven't done it. So, because I don't have a way of mounting it vertically yet. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure. I really don't want to take that rotary axis off the front of the machine. So, let's see, let me cruise back up through here to see if anybody else. Oh, Frankie CNC and Woodworking Channel. Just a heads up, don't store your bits in a drawer above your pool chemicals. 3 weeks, they will be rust. Good tip, good pointer. Not something I would have thought about, but thanks for that. Yeah, I can imagine. There's some pretty caustic stuff. Let's see. Rockin' Woodworks in the house. Holy cow, how did I miss that? Welcome aboard, Eloy. William Devlin's here. Let's see. Who else jumped in? David White. I think I mentioned you, but if not, welcome, David White. Let's see. Jim Hester. How you doing? We've got some little chat going on about Jim Hester says, I'm experimenting with using the box gadget on box joints by reducing the size of the fillets. With a 1/16 inch cutout, the fillets are barely visible. Oh, okay, cool. Cool. So, oh, Frankie's camera's busted. Man, that sucks. That sucks. Yeah, just I'm gonna try not to jinx myself and mention anything about busted cameras, because thankfully, as often as I have kicked over the tripod or knocked this thing over, the old Canon still works. And this is absolutely apropos of nothing we have talked about at all. The only complaint I have about this Canon Vixia video camera is the electrical plug. Really a weak design, Canon. You can do better than that. So, okay, let's see. David White says usually you have to have a hole in the spoil board to poke it through. Okay, I'm assuming you're talking about the vertical for cutting end grain projects and what have you. I've seen it done that way. I've also seen it where it's hooked to the front of the CNC. In fact, Dave helped me out here if you're still watching. A member of the Gatton CNC Facebook group, and it's a good group to join, by the way. Check out Facebook. Look for Gatton CNC, Gatton CNC. Great group of guys over there, and very eager to help out folks. He's a member, and I don't remember his name. He actually mounted another router on the back of his gantry. So he has a normal router up front running on his gantry, but he's got another one on the back. And he uses that for cutting vertical projects on the back side of his CNC table. And he's got a couple of jigs with some T-track there. He can just slide the jig onto the T-track, clamp it down, and then clamp his pieces and run it off the back of the machine. It doesn't take up any space up front. And Dave, I don't know if you remember his name. I certainly don't. But he's very, very good, and he's got a video up on YouTube. I will see if I can remember his name, find that video, and I'll post a link to it here in the comments on this video if I can find it. So give me till the end of the day, and if you don't see it, John Meyer, that's him. John Meyer, thank you. Meyer. Do a Google search for John Meyer CNC, and his channel will probably come up. But he's really done some very cool things, some very cool fixtures and jigs, and just do a real quick search. Let's see. I thought about Chad M. I thought about doing double-sided projects, but I want to make a jig to mount to the machine instead of drilling holes into a spoil board. Hey, Chad, spoiler alert. I don't drill holes in my spoil board. I use a scrap piece of wood. I fasten that to the spoil board, then use that as my spoil board. You'll see next week. I don't drill holes in my spoil board. I drive screws into it, but I don't drill holes either. So, Skip Evans, I use a temporary spoil board that can be reused. So do I. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm using a scrap piece of plywood for that. So, let's see. I think I'm about caught up with the questions. Does anybody else have any question on today's video or the double-sided machining CAD CAM side of the house before we go ahead and call it a day? I'm trying to keep these at around a half an hour so that it stays fresh in everybody's mind. So let's see. Michael Bell says if you have dual y-axis, you can add a section of bed that can be tilted to any angle. You can do box joints and dovetails as well as multi-sided box. Oh, cool. 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 Oh, okay. Dave just linked in the chat here. I think that's John Meyer's YouTube channel. So I think that's the video. Is it the video or the channel? I'll find it and I'll put a link in the description here. So yeah, I see what it did, Dave. You'd think the guy that runs this channel would make you an admin so you could post links and stuff like that, but no, just gotta try to kick him in the butt, I guess, and get him off his tail. So, but yeah, check out John Meyer, Meyer, just like the Bologna, and you'll find his video. It's really cool. He's got a nice setup. If I ever get a decent shop built, I'm going to adopt a few of his little modifications. Okay, Dave says that's his channel. Like I said, I'll put link in the description below, and I'll also link Dave's YouTube channel too. And if you're a cigar box guitar nut like me, check out Dave's other channel, and I'll link this one too, Dave Gatton Guitars. He makes some cool stuff over there. Got me all jealous and stuff because I just don't have time to get back into it. And I've had a build on my bench for too long. I got to get it done. Okay, Jim Dearborn says, got to go. Thanks for the great videos. You're welcome, Jim. Thanks for watching. Actually, I've got to go too, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. Wanted to give a shout out to number one to Dave Gatton for the super chat. Thank you very much. Check out his channel. Another one to Skip Evans for the super chat. Thank you very much. And I had a PayPal me donation from Larry Galt last week that was really above and beyond the call. Larry, you rock, man. Thank you very, very much. That was just seriously cool. I really do appreciate it. That was totally unexpected. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. If you have any other questions, feel free to post them in the comments down below after this video goes live as a video. Or, again, you can contact me through my website. Takes me a little bit of time to answer sometimes, but I will get to it. I answer every one. Other than that, David Pinson, real quick, when you start cutting as a general rule, you always start at 60 inches per minute. Not necessarily 60 inches per minute. That's just a good average. If I'm doing real dense material, I may slow it down or speed it up. It just depends. But 60 is a good place to start. And I can raise or lower on the fly. Okay, thanks very much, y'all, for hanging out with me. I really do appreciate it. And until next Sunday, y'all take care. Bye.